In this video, we're going to focus on how we can put in multiple point styles. As you can see here, we have for the bars, we have a nice square. And if you click on that, it will also nicely hide. And if I click back, you can see here, there you are. And then same for the line here. So by having multiple point styles, we need to create certain effects. And we have to do a lot of different things just to make it work nicely. However, in this video, we're going to show you how. So let's start to explore how to use multiple point styles in the legend in Chartjs. So the first thing what we need to do here is to get our default code. So make sure you go to chartjs3.com, getting started, this specific link, which is also in the description box. Scroll down and just copy this entire chunk of code here. And if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here. It explains it all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this all in here, and once I did that, I want to cut out this all, and then just paste that in there, save that, refresh, there we are. So now we have this, and what I want to do, for example, in this case, because that was a specific question, let's make a mixed bar chart, or mixed bar, a combo bar line chart, where we have a bar chart and a line chart. So what I will do here is I will just copy all of this, copy that, put a comma here, paste that in there, and then I'll just grab a different color for the line. So I'll make this line here, there we are, comma, and here I'll just copy this, all except this must be border color, for background color. Alright, and here we say instead of weekly sales, weekly cost. It doesn't matter, anything you want. And I'll just change the numbers here, 22, 26, to, I'll just make them all 20s. Save that, refresh, there we are. Alright, so let's make the background color 0.2 so it has a nice transparent effect here. Alright, so we have this now. Let's convert this now into a line chart. So I'll put a comma here, or this here should be maybe tension 0.4, and then the comma here will be type, and this type will be equal to line. Save that, refresh, there we are. So now we have a line chart, and what I want to do just for the sake of it, we need to have this one here on the bar. So this is required because we'll be needing this. So I'm going to say here bar and refresh. So once we did this, it means that we can remove the type here because it will be specified specifically on the data set. As you can see here, once you do that, it still works the same. Alright, so now what I want to do, of course, is I want here a rectangle shape or a square shape. And then here, I would like to have the line shape, which matches with the line chart. So to do this, and this is very important as well, I repeat, make sure you have these types specified. Without those, it will not work. So we're going in here. We're going to go into the plugins. And in the plugins, we're going to say legend. And then in the legend, here we're going to work on it. And so what we need to do is basically three things. Number one, we need to create a new legend here, where we have the feature called generateLabels. And if you are familiar with Chartjs 2, where we have generateLegend, but in Chartjs 3, they migrated that term from generateLegend to generateLabels. So basically it's a similar item except that they haven't changed the term or the definition of it or the name of it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to the labels. We need to create basically a new legend. Secondly, we need to have this click effect, as you can see here, to hide and show. And finally, when we click, we need to have this strike through effect. So we need to do a lot of work. So let's start with the basics to create the labels. So I'm going to say here, we're going to focus on labels, and then in here, in the labels, I'm going to say here, generate labels. So we're going to generate now our legend. Or we're going to create a custom version of legend, because this is a callback feature. We're going to use this parameter here, or argument, which is chart, and then here a function arrow expression. So once we have this, what I want to do is the following. I want to start and draw something. So what I'm going to do here first of all is, let me just console log this just to show you what we did here. Chart, save. And then if I open up the developer tab here, alright, unexpected identifier, probably we forgot a comma. There you are. Number 100, no comma, refresh, there we are. So now it works. What happens, we get all of the information here. And what we really want is just the specific information related to the legend. So what we're going to do here is then we're going to into the chart. So we're going to search here for chart, or we are already in chart, sorry. We are already in chart. So what we are going to go here is in the legend, or not really in the legend, but we want to get the data that we'll be using for our legend. And the data is in our data object here. We click on this, you can see what we get. We get here, basically in the data sets, you can see here what we get. We get here the weekly sales. We see here the type, so that's nice. That will be useful later on. But what is more important is we have the background color and the border colors as well. And all I want to do is here basically get the first one here. Very similar to the legend for the bar chart. It will only show the first color. Basically this red bar or square will be shown in here. So let's start to work on that. So what we're going to do here now is the following. I'm going to say here, I'm going to return, and what I'm going to return here is the following. I'm going to say chart, and let's look how did we get there. We're going to go from chart.data, and then we go here into data sets. And what is very important here in the data sets, we're going to use, because this is an array, we have two items here. We need to loop through them, and what we only want to extract is the background color, border color, and of course here the label name. So let's start with the label name first. We say chart.data.datasets. And then we say a .map functionality, because we are working with an array. We will loop through this, and then we will extract the specific item with that. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do these parentheses here, and then pay attention here. So what I'm going to do here, the first thing, we have this, I'm going to put an enter here just to make sure you're able to follow along. And then what I will do here, put another enter, put that here down. And the reason why is because we're going to use multiple parentheses, and then if you don't follow along and don't do this, you might get confused. So we have here 2, and we need another one later on as well. But here, in this one, we'll get the value, which will basically represent this. And what we can say here as our value is the data set, because it is basically data set, and we have the index. So we get the data set, which is just basically this one here, and then here with specific values we grab, and then we have also the index number that can be useful later on. So what I want to do then here is a arrow function expression, and then here what I'm going to do now is create another parentheses, and then here curly braces, enter. And then in here, what I'm going to say here is the following. I'm going to say here text, and this text here will help us to grab specifically, or basically we're going to create our legend, and all I want to do now is to grab the text. And what is the text? Basically it is inner data sets, and then here the label. So how do we get this specifically? Well, very simple. We have this here, that's why we have the shorthand here. Now we have created that. There is a here data set dot, because the data set is basically this, and then dot label. Once I do this, then now it should show nicely. So if I save this and then I refresh, you can see here, look at that, it starts to show the values. Of course, if you click on it, there is no functionality built in. So what I want to do next, of course, is to add up the final two items, which is the background color and the border color. So to do this, I'll put a comma here, and then we're going to say here the following term, which is fill style. And fill style stands for the background color, which will basically indicate to color the shape. Fill the shape with a certain color. So for that, remember how we get the other one was for the label, and it's basically just the same here. We just go to data set label. We can just get the background color as well then. So the same structuring that we have. So we say here data set dot background color. If I save that, refresh, now we get the background color. Alright. Comma, and then we're going to say here fill, sorry, not fill, but stroke. Stroke stands for the border line or the line itself. So stroke style, that's the border line, is dataset dot what is that here, border color. Save that, refresh, there we are. Or are we extracting it? I noticed we're not extracting that. Is it the border color? Oh, sorry, I have here data. That's wrong, it should be data set. Save that, refresh, and there you are. So now we have this. What we are going to prepare, I'm going to prepare it in advance. We can change here the font color if desired. Although we get the default font color, and the default font color is #666. So I will, but I see its color is already operating, so I will accept that. So no need to adjust that. But what I do want is already preparing the other items, which is the point style. So we say point style, and this point style for now, I'll just say here line. So we have the default. And next, what I want to here, this is what we will be needing later on, which is hidden. And hidden will indicate if it's shown or if it's hidden. Well, basically when we click on it, as I refer to this click effect, when you see it will disappear or appear. So I'll put it on hidden, meaning that it will always be shown for now. If I save this, refresh, you see here nothing changes. The reason why this doesn't change is very simple. We didn't activate here in the labels the point style, where we say use point style. So what I'm going to do here now is the following, and all I will say here now is say use point style, and this point style use, we'll set this on true. You put a comma here and save that, refresh. Now you can see here this works. However, we're not able to convert this. So if I do here a circle and refresh, doesn't work. Even if we do an array, it doesn't allow an array. Comma here, line, make sure you have this in string, save that, refresh, it doesn't recognize it. So what we have to do something else with this. Don't worry, I'm going to show you later on. So let's put this back, there we are. So the next thing what I want to do now is, what we can do here is basically the item to solve basically our point style. So what I want to do with the point style now is create what we call an if statement. Because what we have here, just we're trying to do an array, doesn't work. But there's a way that we can use an array to make it work. So what we're going to do now is the following. So I'm going to put in here the just put in some enters here, and then I'm going to start here. And what I will say here is the following. I'm going to say just here on the generate labels, we're going to say here let point style. So will be an array. So this is our point style, but this is a blank array. So we're going to use this later on. So we're going to use this, but what we need to do then is we need to basically loop through this. So what I'm going to say here, chart.data sets. And if you really recognize this, it's exactly the same here. But now, instead of a map where we create the array, I'm going to use here for each. Because we don't have to create it, we just have to loop through the information. And what I really want to do now is I want to create based on whatever type we have. And this explains why we have to indicate the type here. If you will not put a type here, even though it might be in the options as default, it will give an error because it will look for a certain value here. And if that value doesn't exist, it will give an error that says, sorry, undefined. What we could do maybe is an active if statement, if undefined equals default value, which would be bar. But that would be too complicated. I want you to do just this. It's easy, and it's also easy for me to explain to you. So what we're going to do now is the following. We're going to do it here, and what we're going to do here now is basically we're going to refer to the data set. So this will be referred to data set, exactly the same. And then we're going to use here a arrow function, or arrow expression function, enter. And then here, all I will do here is an if statement. And this if statement we will loop through the items. And we have the if statement, and this if statement will push a value in here. We'll say if it's a bar, we want a certain shape, and if it's a line, then we want the line shape. So what I'm going to do here is the following. We say if, then we say data set, then dot type. Basically what we're doing, because here we are in the data sets, which is basically this here, and then here we have and then dot type would be this one here. But because we are in the for each, it will loop through every item here. So we say here if datasets dot type, and then what we're going to do here is the following. Say equals strict line. If that is the case, then what I want to do then is I want to say in the point style array, a blank array, we're going to push an element. And what I will talk about push is basically pushing a specific value, and that will be our line value. Here pushing will be putting it here at the very end. This is very important. When we push, we're going to put it at the very end, but since there's none, that's alright. However, we need to do this because when we loop through it the second time, then it will be a bar or a line, then we will push it to the end as well. So then else, if that is not the case, if it is not a line, then what I would say here is just very simple. I'm going to use here rect, or rect would be fine. So I'm using these options here. So we're not able to get the default, and the reason why, the default is that nice rectangle that we get by default. And the reason why we can use it, because we use this. This overrides our old structuring. There might be a way, but it's a very complicated way, and I'm still learning that part. So I will not go into that. Will make it too complicated. So if I save this, what will happen now if I do here a console log, and what I do in this console log, I want to just echo out this, and then I'll just comment that one out, save that, refresh. You can see here we get this 2, alright, and then what I can do now is this point style here, put it in here, put here the index, save that, refresh. There we are. So we get these 2 options, but we have a problem here. We don't have these effects here. So the click effect and the strike through need to be in place. To do that, we have a lot of work more to do. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to work here. In the legend, what I'm going to do now is create a onClick function that would recognize when we click on a specific legend shape or legend. Are we clicking on the weekly sales or weekly costs? And once we click on one, it should hide it. So what I'm going to do here now is an onClick. This is a built-in feature in Chartjs. So you say onClick here, and then we say here, well, we're going to use 3 parameters: click, which is the event, legend item, and then legend itself. Now use here a function error expression, and then in here, what I'm going to do first is console log and just show you the functionalities here. If I save that and refresh, and then alright, we have this uncut or breaking change. Make sure we have a comma here or else we get an error. Refresh, there we are. So if I click on this, what we get now is the information of our click. You can see your type click and then get us all the data we need. However, the event itself for us is right now not really important, although it indicates one thing: it recognizes now our click event. So that means that we have now a working event. But now what I really want is basically in the legend item in the legend. Because I need to know if I click, let's put in the legend item and save that, refresh. What I really need to know is on which element have I clicked on, or did I click on or selected. And you can see here if I click on this weekly sales, open up here, we can see here all the information we have. We have the fill style, we have the point style which is rect, and you can see here, this is very interesting. We get the weekly sales text. And if you recognize this, this is this part here that we created is the generateLabels feature. So what we just did now, we are able to read what we just created. And that's beautiful, because that will mean now we are having a way to play around with the text. And look here, the text. If I click on weekly sales, the text will be weekly sales. If I click here on weekly cost, the text is weekly cost, indicating the following, that we now are able to figure out where did we click on. So if I do just this dot text, save that, click, click, there you are. You can see the differences that we selected on. Alright, this is very important, but we're not done yet, because I must show you the legend as well. However, the legend item is a very important one that we will be using later on. Let me first show you this. The legend here. Alright, so once I refresh it and if I click on this, you can see here now, and we get here all the information. And what is the information I truly need? Well, basically I need here, in the legend, you can see here the legend items that shows us basically the text of every legend item we have. So it shows all the items. You can pay attention here. This is legend items with an S. While this one here is without S. So this is singular and that one is plural. Plural indicate multiple, and in this case it is true because it shows every legend item that is being written in the legend. So what we need to do here is basically an array where we can get the text indicating if we have one or the other. So then we can compare whatever value we selected on or clicked on in which index number it is, index 0 or index 1, and from there on we can say which item or which line or bar or which part of the graph needs to be hidden. So here, let me just show you this. Let's go back here. How do we get this? Well, we need to go here to legend item or legend items with an S. Alright, so we have this one here. So now, if I save that, refresh, and if I click here, we just get all of those. But I want this, specifically the text itself. So what we're going to do here is basically a constant. And this constant will indicate the data set that we have clicked on. So I call this data sets. And this data set, we will say the following. We're going to grab here the legend, this specific code, legend.legend items. Then we say dot map. What I want to do here is just very simple. To grab here the item that we want. And what I want to do here is I want to say here data set, comma, index. And this will be a function error expression, curly braces. And then in here, I want to return, because what I'm going to do here basically is I'm creating an array with the two values. We need to create this array, and then when I return here, data set dot text. When we have this, let's put a semicolon there, we can do a console log on the data set dot data set. We don't even have to put dot text because we have this one here. We can do this, or we can do even a console table because it is basically a array. So if I click on this, you will see a nice table with two items: index 1 or index 0, weekly sales; index 1, weekly cost, which is correct. Alright, so now we have this. What I want to do now is basically the following. We're going to use here the of index or index of feature to grab whatever we clicked on and search in which index position it is located in our data set. So what I'm going to say here, constant index equals, and I'm going to say here data set, which is the array, dot index of, which helps us search a specific value in which index that is. So for example, if I just copy this, it show index 0. If I do this and put in here that, and then I'll just say your console.log index, semicolon, and then semicolon here, save, refresh, click on this, and you can see here it shows as index 0, which is correct. This is index. Alright, it's always index 0 for now, and the reason why, because we have it hard coded. But if I now grab the legend items, or sorry, no, not that one, but the legend item dot text, that would indicate the specific, that grabs the legend text here. Now you can see it, 0 and 1. Alright, index 1, 0. Alright, so this is very important because now we have everything what we need. I can delete all the console log just to keep it clean. And what I want to do now is the following. I'm going to say an if statement, and this if statement will say if the legend.chart, and this is a feature, is dataset visible. Alright, and then if this would be visible based on the index, and let's put in here, well, we can just put in here the index itself. We just put index, it will be index 0 or 1, that's the one that we get. And then we say this, if this equals strict true, if that is the case, what I want to do is, I want to say legend.chart.height index. So basically, this is a command here that will update the chart and hide the specific data set. And else, if it's not, or if it is basically set on false, so it is basically not visible, in that case, what I want to do here is I want to show that specific index. So once I did that, we have all of this. And if I save this now, refresh, click on this, and click again, there we are. Beautiful. So now we have done that part, but we're not done, because you can see if I click on this, there's no strike through effect. So we have to do this next. So let's go down here, and what I'm going to do here now is basically here, we have here the hidden false. And the information is basically stored in there, but we can also store it in here with this specific command. So let's start and work on here. In here, put enter. I'm going to say a let value, and this let value now will be the next value, which is basically the visibility. And I'll just say here, this index blank. And what I will do here is, well, let's put it down here so we have that, or maybe I will just put it there up. I will make more sense just to put it here so it's related. And it's a bit more organized. Let me just put an enter here, keep it a bit clean. So what I want to do here is a very simple, same structure, which is basically if one or the other, then show. So what I'm going to do here is, well, basically what I'm going to do here then is a for loop. I'm going to say here, let I equals 0, because we need to get the index number. And then what I want to do here now is the following. If I, we keep on looping I as long as chart.data.data sets length is smaller. If it's equal or half, or if it's larger, at that moment it changes, of course, but it's just a basic for loop. And then we say here I++ for incremental increase. So what I'm going to do here is the following: if statement. And this if statement will be the following. We say here, if chart.is dataset visible, and then here what we say is index I, and I is of course the loop here. If that is the case, if that is true, in that case what I want to do here, I want to say visibility. Basically I'm going to grab this one again, dot push, and put this on false. And this is a boolean value. Boolean value means that it is not a string value. And then else, we're going to do another thing, and we say here visibility push true. And now once we have that, what I want to do then is this array here will be here, and then here again a index. Save that, refresh. Oh, alright, so we are getting an issue here, most likely. Alright, maybe we forgot a comma or something. Hold on, let me check. What are we missing? Alright, so the error is 109, and if I look at it, I realize I typed in here data set. That is just a mistake of mine, sorry. It was data sets. Why is it data sets? Of course, I probably were not paying attention. It's data sets here. That's why. Because if you have the singular, it doesn't exist in our array or in our object. So now we have that, and we have the length here, so we get now the right response. And if I click on that, look at that, it's hidden, and there we are, and click back, it will show, and there we are. Beautiful. So this is basically the way how you can play around with creating your custom item here. So these are the items, and we could even change that into a circle and maybe a cross. Refresh, there you are, you can see here. And of course we could do many more. You could even do it based on index numbers as well, but in this case I will just skip that. But if you understand this, you probably will figure out how to do this if statements and conditions. So what is very important, maybe we'll say I want to have the original one. As I indicated earlier, that is not possible, because if you have this on true, it will overwrite whatever is on the other feature, and if you set this on false, you see here as well, it will overwrite it as well. Is there a way to do it? Yes, there is, but it's a very complicated way, and I will, once I know that clearly, I will make that one. However, this is basically the way to do it. So if you enjoyed this video, maybe you want, for example, instead of the strike through, what you would like to do is maybe a more faded effect. That is also possible. I have another video that shows you how you can change the legend effect to have a shade and unshade instead of a strike through, which is very interesting, and it's very similar to what we've done so far. So it's a very useful video as well to watch.